Hello everyone. After I hope you had a nice lunch and some time to chat and talk and exchange experiences. My name is Katarzyna Waksmundzka. I'm the Deputy Director of the European Academy of Diplomacy, and I'll have the great pleasure of moderating this panel. Just few short remarks about the schedule and organizational structure of it. I'll introduce our panelists, and then I'll give 5 minutes to each of them to do the introductory remarks, and then we'll follow the pattern of the previous panels and we'll let the floor to ask questions. So I may begin from my direct right, Mr. Ahmed Driss, who's the director and the founder of the Tunisian School of Political Studies, our sister school in the network of the schools of political studies of the Council of Europe. And he's also the president of the Center of Mediterranean and International Studies in Tunisia. Next to him, there's Mrs. Patrycja Sasnal. She's the head of the Middle Eastern program of the Polish Institute of International Affairs. And currently she's also been appointed to deal with the American desk. So that's also interesting when we talk about migration, I guess, since those policies will be something to observe in the future. Next to her, there is Mrs. Justyna Segeš Frelak, head of the program for the, Warsaw School of Economics and the East European Studies at the University of Warsaw. And she was also a scholar for the International Visegrád Scholarship Program, and she has been a member of Group Zagranica. And the last but not least is our guest today, Mr. Elsi Adajew. Elsi Adajew, he has been a friend of the European Academy of Diplomacy for long years now. He and his family immigrated to Poland in 1999 from Chechnya. Yes. So he has a first-hand experience when it comes to coming to a country, learning the language, adapting to the rules and the reality here. So I'll start with giving floor to Mr. Ahmed Driss. And one more remark, please, if we can stick strictly to the time, and this is a request to both the panelists and to you all, since we have one more person here, and we do not have so much time, so please.
Well, thank you. And thank you for organizer for inviting me to speak to you. I want to ask you to be a bit patient with me because English is not my favorite language, but yeah, I try to express myself in this language. Well, I arrived this morning from Frankfurt, and I arrived in this room right in the moment that one of the participants was saying about the white, healthy young people as a terrorist. No, it's not you. And okay, I said, I will be in trouble because I am not too white, I'm not too healthy young people, but I am not a terrorist. And I'm asking myself, why I'm here? I am not particularly expert on refugees. I am not European to be able to speak about far-right parties raised in Europe, and I am not. I have no expertise on Islamophobia, so why I'm here? Maybe I am here just because I am supposed to be Muslim. I don't know. Myself, I don't know if I'm Muslim or not, but I'm culturally I am considered as Muslim because I am part of this part of the world, Tunisia. And so why we are asking today this question about the crisis of refugees? Because for me, it's not a crisis of migrants. It's only a crisis of refugees. And maybe I am repeating myself for some of those who are participating in the World Forum of Democracy in Strasbourg, the last edition, when I said that we have to distinguish between the two concepts, refugees and migrants, because migration in the region are still there during decades and decades. I have some slide if can I show you, but it's not necessary because within 5 minutes we can now have a PowerPoint presentation. But during decades, during the independence of our countries in North Africa, people start to migrate to Europe without any restriction, without any visa. I remember that first time that I traveled to France, there was no visa. And it was in mid 80s, so it's not too long time ago. But they start to establish visas, and they start to have policies about migrants, etc. And some management of the migrants start, and which is acceptable for you and for us. And if you see the figures about numbers of migrants during the whole period from 50s until today, you have the same amount of number each year, about 20,000 from the eastern part of Mediterranean, something like 30,000 of the western part of the Mediterranean, which is manageable. But when it comes to refugees, it's different, because only in 2 years, almost 200,000 people moved from a region to another, seeking for protection and seeking for asylum, which is really different. So for me, the crisis is a crisis of refugees, and there is rules and there is international rules dealing and managing this issue, and countries accepting these rules have also to implement them and to accept implementing them, and don't refuse to give asylum for people who are seeking for protection because they are fleeing for their life. And I don't know if you remember this photo of the young Aylan, 4 years old, dying on one of the beaches of in Greece. It's terribly, but we have to accept the fact that this kind can also happen, but people have to be safe when they seek for protection. So why the question now? Because the crisis and because the situation in the region. Today is 14th of January. Today is the 6th anniversary of the so-called Arab Spring starting in Tunisia, the 14th of January 2011. And during this period of 6 years, we are facing a lot of trouble in the region because freedom is not easy to manage. And when we have people living under pressure during decades, when they are free, you cannot expect them to be reasonable, let's say. But more than 99.99% of those people are reasonable, but you can have also some who are not reasonable and maybe choosing to be radicalized or accepting radicalism and extremism, and are now creating a lot of trouble in the region. We are facing the same problems. It's not only European problems because you have your radicals or you have your extremist people. We have also our radical and extremist people. We are not all radical. We are not all extremist. We are dealing with those of us who are extremist and radical in the same terms, in the same words, in the same concerns. So we are sharing these concerns, and we have to deal with and to have a common attitude to deal with. I can understand your attitude of Ayur, the attitude of certain people considering all Muslims are terrorists. It's, as if we can say that all Americans are also killers because they have the right to bring weapons. So potentially they are all killers. So it's not really acceptable to have this kind of perception or of definition of people. We have to deal with the problem because it's a common problem. But to be honest with you, we have also to deal with this problem commonly. it's not a European problem because those people leave our countries, go to some to some regions in which there are some trouble, and then they come back not to their own countries but to Europe in order to create problems. We have to, and here I insist on the fact that we have to cooperate on an intelligent basis, let's say. Because sometimes Europeans consider that new government in the region or new are not able to manage with information that can deliver to them, which also create a lot of problems for those governments. All of us, so all the governments have to collaborate in order to have the right information and then to deal with the problem on a solid basis. But if we speak also about migration, this morning some people are raising the issue of identity, as if the problem is the problem of those who arrive in Europe and don't accept to have another identity. Some of them, let's say, some of them are like this. I know people from second or maybe third generation living in France or in Italy, living with their own uses and with their own tradition, as if they are living in their own countries. And to be honest, we have to say also that people like this have to make a lot of effort to change themselves. But in order to be able to change themselves, they have also to find in the counterpart a policy to not assimilate them to the population of the European population, but to integrate them. And there is a huge difference between assimilation and integration. Some Europeans, when they speak about integration, they think about assimilation. People have to be like them, exactly like them. No, people have to be integrated with their differences. Otherwise, they can have a reaction, they can have a radicalized reaction. They can have a normal reaction and be apart in the society, that they exclude themselves of the system. But they can have a radical attitude, and the results of radicalism is it's much more dangerous than the other attitude. So let's say that we have to make effort from both sides to have a common solution for a common problem, for a common concerns, common challenges, and to work on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. Patrycja, could you please share your thoughts on this?
Thank you, Katarzyna. So, Ahmed, you don't speak English well, right? Hi, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be able to talk to you in this auditorium. You cannot know how privileged I am to be sitting here. I graduated from this university, the Jagiellonian University. When I graduated, this building was being built. I was never able to put my foot in here, and so I'm all the more happy to be here with you. And I would spend a lot of time in a building next door, you know what, studying Arabic language, reading the Quran, reading ancient Arabic texts and trying to translate them. So talking about Islamophobia to me is like talking about something that should not be here, should not exist. I had 8 points to talk about, but since I have 7 minutes, I may just go through 5 of them. And I would focus, unfortunately, on the negative part of the question that we have on the slide here. Why should we be worried? So I would give you just a couple of points why we really should be worried. We shouldn't be worried because of numbers of people who are migrating. Migration is part of a human being, of living in a society, of the globalization processes. It's natural, will be here, is here to stay. But because it is here to stay, and it will grow, We should be worried because we're not adjusting to the process that we cannot do much about. Adjusting to it with a view to benefiting from it is the greatest challenge that we're facing, and we're not doing it. Why is migration here to stay? It's not only here to stay because of conflicts, because of instability in the neighborhood of Europe and in the world in general. It is here to stay because of climate change. Not only people are moving, but animals are moving. Whole species of animals in Africa are moving already because life is becoming unbearable. It's just too hot, there's too little water. And this will have an effect on people as well. First they migrate to cities, then they will migrate to other countries. There'll be more migration. And the third reason why migration is here to stay, and we need to adjust, we need to incorporate it in our regulations and systems and take the most of it, is that because demographic changes are here to stay as well. And if Europe was once 11%, or 20 years ago 11% of the world population, and Africa was something like 15%, in 30 years' time it will be 7% for Europe and 25% for Africa. Where will Africans move? They will move south maybe to South Africa, but they will also move north. Europe does still have this magnet of good life and being stable, I guess, for now. That's point number one. Point number two, the basic facts don't really get through in the media. And I think the previous panel talked about it a little bit. You know, there are foreigners who come to Europe in millions every year, legally. 1.7 million people from outside of the EU come to the EU annually, legally. Now, is this much? This is like regular migration. So having 1 million people coming to Europe is not a statistical problem. It's a problem of having it bottlenecked through very specific countries in large numbers and illegally. Managing that flow is a feat, but it's not a challenge in terms of numbers. It's not like it's unprecedented. In 1992, we had another crisis. More than 600,000 applications for asylum were filed for in then 20 countries strong European Union, which was the European Community. So 12 countries had more than 600,000 applications from the former Yugoslavian countries. So again, this is a sinusoid. We're now somewhere close to the peak, but it will fall again, it will peak again, fall again, and peak again. So we need to be aware of this historical aspect of migration. It's not like we're going to live in this crisis. Point number three, there's more and more, now bad words are coming, of relative deprivation. It may sound like a difficult concept, but it's a valid and important concept in sociology, developed from the 30s of previous century. Relative deprivation, so someone feeling deprived of something, is not in absolute terms. It's not that we have too little money, or people feel they can't, you know, they live in abject conditions, they don't have anything to put in their casserole, they don't have bread. No. They have, in absolute terms, enough, but they see other people who have more. And just because of this relation of one person to another person, we feel deprived, and people feel more and more deprived. This also comes with globalization, and there'll be more of this relative deprivation. Relative deprivation is a factor for people becoming radicals, is a factor of people voting for the far right also. So it just fuels both groups. Point number four, I'm pretty sure that the common mistake that we always make, and you know, this is like, I'm being so smart that I'm saying it, we do not learn from history. There's never a generation that learned from the history of their parents' generations. We just forget history. There was this famous Italian philosopher and historian, Benedetto Croce, and he would say that all history is contemporary history, because we live history now. as if nothing happened before. We don't know what happened before. But it did happen. Millions of people died. And these were not Muslims who killed them. These were Europeans who were killing each other. These were my grandparents, your grandparents, who were killing one another on this terrain. And this may happen again. This might happen again because we forget history. And it happened the way these crises are starting now, not between countries, not conflicts between countries, but within, hostility toward one another. So that's why I am worried. Maybe because I'm already out of time. Maybe, yeah, just one last point. Out of all the ones that I have here, I guess I'll choose one, again, a difficult concept maybe, but a simple one if explained. Perhaps you know Zygmunt Bauman, just died, a Polish philosopher. He worked in the UK. A philosopher, a sociologist. He had this concept of adiaphorization. He said that people whom we consider others, the epitome of the other, such as refugees, migrants, someone that's not us, we tend to adiaphorize them, put them outside of our moral system and treat not really as humans. So as if the refugees and migrants, they're not really human in our minds. We adiaphorize them, we do not apply our own moral values to them, to their lives, to their problems, to their conditions. And this happens more and more in our societies. The reasons for that, probably you talked about that in the previous sessions, and Ahmed alluded to identity problems and stuff. And so the concept of the other grows and grows and is more and more amorphic. It's Islam, it's terrorism, it's the refugee. But it's us. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Patrycja. And now Ms. Justyna Segeš-Frelak, who I forgot she's currently affiliated with the Institute of Public Affairs. Sorry for that.
It's fine. Thank you very much for your kind invitation. I work for the think tank dealing mostly with the issues of migration policy of Poland and other EU member states, and recently we've been doing a lot of research on the integration of refugees and migrants in our country. So I would focus on just a few points concerning the impact of the crisis on the society and what our societies actually think about refugees in the context of terrorism and security, and then I would move to the anti-immigrant rhetoric that we are facing nowadays, and to what extent this is actually influencing the migration policy. So, as we all know, the crisis revealed enormous diversity in societal attitudes to migration, and the reaction of societies which already hosted large migrant communities, contrasted with societies of Central Europe with the limited experience of in terms of immigration and integration, but not only influx of refugees, but also attacks in Paris and Brussels have fueled public fears about terrorism. So, as a lot of research actually right now shows, the refugee crisis and the threat of terrorism are much linked to each other in the minds of many Europeans. In case of our region, almost 80% of Hungarians and around 70% of Poles actually think that the refugees will increase the likelihood of terrorism in the countries. But we need to remember that Poland has not been was not hit by the refugee crisis. But terrorism is not the only concern societies have about the refugees. A lot of people actually think that they constitute the economic burden, and that was also the topic of the previous sessions, I suppose. But we can see the huge differences among people, for example, in the Visegrád states. As for majority of them, refugees mean taking jobs and social benefits, while Swedes and Germans, despite having a lot of people claiming asylum, have the totally opposite opinions. What is more, among the Europeans, the perception of refugees is influenced in part by the negative attitudes to Muslims already living in Europe. And again, in case of Poland and Hungary, more than 60% for a lot of Poles and Hungarians, negative attitudes towards migrants are tied to believe that Muslims do not wish to participate in the broader society. And at the same time, in our region, the strong majorities believe that it is important to be a Christian, to be considered true nationals. So language, customs, and tradition are seen as essential to national identity, which means that we think that it is important to assimilate but not integrate, to live in the certain country. So the crisis not only influenced the public opinion about migration, but crisis has featured prominently in the anti-immigrant rhetoric of right-wing or far-right-wing parties. And the question is shall we be worried about the situation? And the question is yes, because anti-refugee, anti-migration parties, even if they do not win the elections, they are still dangerous in terms that they guide, they influence the political discourse, and they bring the previously extreme opinions into the mainstream. And this is clearly seen in the migration policies, because the response of many governments to the growing popularity of far right was eventually to cater to far right and introduced really strict policies. That's the case of Hungary or Austria. At the same time, what is worrying is that during the crisis, this nexus between the migration and security has been tightened, actually deviating the attention from migrants' rights protection into the state's interests. So the far right parties actually frame right now the immigration debates around two main issues: the cultural, social threat, as well as security threat. And returning to the Visegrád region, the reaction of public and the politician was particularly strong, as we all seen. And it's important to remember that it's really easy to manipulate the public in countries such as Poland, with a very limited experience in terms of contacts with migrants and limited knowledge about the phenomena. To quote the IOM study from last year, around 1/3 of Poles had any contact with foreigner during the 12 months. Around 80% of Poles do not know any Muslim. So it shows that we are so easy to manipulate. But this relationship between immigration and extremism, according to the researcher, is still very unclear and complex. And the rising numbers of immigrants do not automatically translate into increasing extremism in the country. And at the same time, there is no straightforward relation between immigration patterns and radical right voting, because immigration has to be translated into political issue first. So while the immigration is not a single issue of the radical right, it is, of course, it plays an important role in the propaganda and electoral success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Elsie?
Hey, how much time do I have? Because I don't know.
5 minutes.
Okay. Hello. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. I will be really quick. I will try to do as best as I can. So, first of all, I want you to know that, and please don't be surprised, I will explain this to you. When I was a kid, when I got to Poland, I hated Poland, and I hated Polish people. I will explain why. When I got here, a friend of us, our family, tried to help us to learn Polish language, and one of the advices of my parents and those friends who helped us to learn Polish language was go out and try to make friends, go out, talk with people. So I learned Polish language as best as I can, and I really was going to everyone, hi, hello, how are you, and everyone, when they knew that I am not from Poland, not like aggressively rejected me, but didn't want to talk with me. And I had this time from the beginning of living here in Poland till the World Trade Center terrorist attack. It was a, we can say, peaceful time for me, but no one liked me. But after the World Trade Center fell, after the attack, it started a hell for me, because I was Muslim, I am Muslim, because kids around me never knew anyone else that is Muslim and never had any contact with Muslim. All they heard about was Muslim terrorist attack, here is Muslim responsible for the another tragedy. And by the kids from my school, I was responsible for all the terrorist attacks, and they always persistently asked me to leave Poland. And I remember that for 2 years, almost every day after the World Trade Center attack, I had to fight. Every day I had really aggressive situations, and when I was at the verge of sanity, and I was asking my parents that please don't make me go to school. I just don't want to go to school. Everyone hates me. I never did anything wrong to them. I myself ran away from war, from under the oppression. I don't want to go to school. Something the friends of ours told us about this high school in Warsaw called Raszyńska, and after I got there, everything changed for me. It was this school was the first moment of the rest of my life, first changes that happened in my life that made me who I am today. People started to talk to me. People, instead of saying instead of judging me based on my nationality or religion, they were judging me based on am I an asshole towards other people or not, and that was the best judgment that could be there for me. I was always nice with everyone, and everything started to smoothen out, and this was from that then started a good time for me here in Poland. I understood that Polish people are tolerant, that Polish people I can make friends with Polish people. There is no not everyone are hateful towards me because I'm Muslim or Chechen, and this situation since that time for me is good. But for my friends nowadays, after all those terrorist attacks, after all this crisis refugee crisis, because I don't like to call it migrant crisis, but it's a refugee crisis. All the problems started for a lot of my friends who are from Chechnya, from Tunisia, from Egypt, from different Tajikistan, different countries. The thing is that they are hated based on the skin of their the color of their skin, the headscarf, the language they are speaking. And in our foundation, Sintar, there are two main things that we're working on: education of young people and integration of Polish society with Chechen society. This is our main field of work. And the thing is that after all this crisis began, all these tensions arose, there were many unpleasant situations towards our friends, because, for example, one of our friends, Iman, was thrown away from tram because she's wearing headscarf, and no one did anything towards her. The other friend, who is pale, he was beaten after the training, because not pale, he has darker skin color, and he was beaten only because of this reason. And they told him, like, get out from Poland. And he was born in Poland, like he's living in Poland since 1999, and a lot of these kind of situations happen. And there is this one problem. The question is, why should we be worried? One of the main things that by the far right and extreme far right and far right groups or political groups, they're saying all the time is that most of the people that are running away from coming to Europe are not refugees, but are migrants. And the thing is that I myself ran away from war, and I remember there's this one thing that not much people talk about. When war in Chechnya started in 1999, first people that arrived to Poland were Russians, because they used the opportunity to get to Poland, saying like they were speaking Russian language, and they said, we're from Chechnya, and we're running away from war, and we would like to live here. And 3,000 Russians got a possibility to live here in Poland. Then, but it happened, and of course this kind of stuff will happen. There are opportunists everywhere in every group. We're like grown-up people, and we know that. But it doesn't mean that tens of thousands Chechen refugees who run away from Chechnya were they're migrants, and they wanted just to get to Poland or to Europe to get money or live, or just by, I don't know, whatever they come up with an idea. And a lot of people I worked with like suffered this kind of treatment, and I know those people lost their relatives because of purges made done by Russian soldiers. And what bothers me is that there is this strong message going through Poland that most of the people, the least refugees are coming here to Poland, and the most of the Polish people think that all the refugees coming to Europe are for just money, not running away from crisis, not running away from war. This is not true, because I work with those people every day. I read the reports, and there is this lack, and now comes my second point, and I will try to make it last. Sorry for making it so long. The biggest problem nowadays here in Poland is people are afraid. There is a lot of rumors going different, like Muslim did this, Muslim stole this, there is this attack, someone beat him and her or raped her. This different kind of stories come up, like everyone can fabricate those, and it's easy to spread these kind of things. But the problem here in Poland is that there is a lack of discussion. When I see and listen to different discussions of different groups, I have never problem talking with anyone, with different people with totally different point of view. There is no problem. We're like grown-up people. We have to talk with each other to understand each other's problems and try to discuss and find some solution. But when I see discussions, a lot of times, not everywhere, not every time, but a lot of times, people when they discuss, there are different groups of people, and one saying like, my point of view is A, the other one say my point of view is B, and they talk each other not to try to find some like solution, not to find the way like in the middle of the road, but all of them like talk, listen to each other, but say, but still I think my point of view is the best one, and I don't agree with it. People talk with each other, not to listen to other people, but to respond, like respond instantly. I don't agree with you, and there is nothing more to that. So this, I think Peter said that, no, Thomas said that, about this bubble, that people tend to live in their bubble through Facebook, through Twitter, through a different kind of discussion groups. In real life, people live in these bubbles that this information ferments in this bubble, and then it goes to extremism. People forget to discuss to each other, and that's the biggest problem when I go, for example, to talk in high schools, when I go to different universities and I have possibility to talk with young people. Most of the time I'm so attacked by those young people, like, but Muslims this, Muslims that, what do you think? And I try to say what I think, I try to say what I feel, what I know, but no, they're like, whatever you say, we don't agree, we don't believe you, and this we know the best because somewhere in the internet someone posted a meme with like this information and there's nothing to it. So the biggest problem in my point of view, for the youngest people, for the grown-up people, the biggest problem we should be feared is lack of discussion and lack of, even though if there is discussion, lack of trying to understand each other, but to discuss, to say your point of view, not to listen to other one. I'm sorry for this long explanation, but I hope I explained myself clearly.
Okay. Thank you very much to all the panelists, and I think now we'll take 2, maybe 3 rounds of questions, and in each round we're going to take 3-4 questions. We'll ask the experts to answer them, to refer to them, and then we'll go for the next one. Do we have microphones? Okay, so maybe there, over there, with a gray pullover with a white somethings. So, please.
Napochenka, Warsaw. I have a question to Mr. Elsi. You said one fantastic thing, because now we are talking about helping refugees, but one important thing is to help us to understand foreigners. And I'm interested of activities which your foundation does.
Okay.
Can we hold off with answering just for a second, and then we're going to take some more questions and then go for it, okay? So, gentleman over there, raising, yes, with a flowery shirt.
Hello, my name is Bartek. I come from Wrocław. I just wanted to say that we are talking today about the solidarity crisis. I mean, there were different names. We were just mentioning the whole thing that is happening in Europe right now. And I just wanted to say that I believe that this is the lack of awareness that creates the fear, and this is very rapid thing, and then it leads to lack of trust and independent defense, because it's very connected to the nervous system that creates fear in the chemical meaning, and body demands and reaction, and people are aggressive. So as long as the knowledge that immigrants are not connected to terror, as we agreed today, whatsoever, won't be as known to people as the thing like 2 multiplied by 2 is 4, that we won't get anything, we won't get anywhere, because it's not ethical to use the immigrant argument in the world of politics, because we can't allow people without academic background whatsoever create the view, and this is us here talking about this subject. And the most important thing, I believe, is to stop the populists and the right parties using the immigrant argument in politics. It's just not ethical. We should just not allow to do it. And that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Here, green vest here, if you could. And please keep it short.
My name is Alina Baiguzakova, University of Warsaw. I have a question to Dr. Ahmed Driss. What do you suggest how to deal with the situation if a country does not really want to integrate, to have other people in their society, that they can agree on assimilation but not integration? What solution do you suggest? Thank you.
And one more, two more. Okay, so we have a lady over there raising her hand, and maybe then a lady here in the brown pullover.
First, I'm sorry because my English is not very well.
I'm sure it's good.
I am from Sudan, so I am African and Arabic country. I don't know, but I want to say something for new generation. Also, we are afraid from those who say we are a Muslim, because they kill us also. Sure. When people are praying in mosque and they sleep in their home, they kill children in our country also. So also we are afraid of them because they are not Muslim. Islam is not say something like this. And like me, I am talking about myself. I am here because I'm coming from safe country. I just want opening good life and education for my children. I spend money here. I'm not taking the money from the country. But sorry, most of the people here thought if they say any Arabic, they saw any Arabic or Muslims or African or Asian here, they want to come immigrate. No, there is a diplomatic, there is students, there is many things. We are, and the immigration from thousands of years from country to country. Most of the people here, I think, the dad from country, the mom from country, that this is why we make immigration is the problem. What is the problem? From thousands of years, we are traveling from country to country. And these are the things I want to say. I am a Muslim, and also I'm afraid from those say we are a Muslim. We are not like this.
Okay, and here, last one for the session.
My name is Jana, I'm from Lithuania, and I'm very happy to say that, first of all, our government was very eager to take refugees, and they were very happy, and they said that we will help everyone. And after all, they even were eager to give away new flats for them, and people were not very happy because someone will get a new flat. And afterwards, our politicians tried to ask people, just, you take the refugees to your home. But for me, I never saw them as terrorists. And no one tells us how we should finance them. So my question is, how do you think, who is paying for that integration period? For the period when they need to integrate into our society? Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're going to combine the question number 2 and then the remarks of our colleague over there and concerning the ignorance. So if you could refer to that issue, how to deal with the ignorance and how to educate people so they do not follow all those prejudices and falsely based opinions. And then we go for the individual questions, and maybe at the end you also want to add something to those. Okay, so Ahmed, there was a question for you concerning the assimilation versus integration.
Well, there is no magic solution, let's say. There is two models now in the world. If you compare the Anglo-Saxon countries toward other countries, So you can see that there is this two model of dealing with migrants or dealing with foreigners: the assimilation and the integration model. In Great Britain, for example, or even if in the States, you have more the assimilation model than the integration one, which means that the people are aware that other people are different. They have to live with their differences, but within the common frame, which is the state. So Americans are different because you have several perspectives, several identities, several origins, ethnicity, but they are all American. So this might be the model that we have to encourage in Europe. Because in Europe, the problem that is a part of a part of Great Britain, the rest is much more integrative than assimilative. But let's say that there is no awareness about the definition of the integrative system. So maybe Europeans consider that they are integrative rather than assimilative, but in fact they are assimilative more than integrative. So they have to be aware about that, and people working on that have also to spread the awareness of that. They have to help people to be more aware about the existence of the integrative system, let's say.
Okay, thank you. And how would you refer to the question of ignorance that was posed here and the lack of knowledge on both sides, probably, but especially in those societies that we were talking about today?
Maybe this is why I should be worried right now about that, because of ignorance, and also because that the rise of populism now in Europe and elsewhere help more to be in ignoring system than in another system. So. Some politicians now, for example, in France, some politicians from the left side are more populist than the people from Front National, for example. I don't know if the French people agree with me or not. So because populism, it's a kind of a new attitude now to gain elections and to gain voters, and I don't think that those people will help to transform the educative system to have more to have more solutions now. So we have to wait until this wave of new populism go away.
Patrycja?
On the ignorance question, there were calls from the gentleman from the previous panel, I think, that we cannot go on this internal immigration. We cannot hide within. We're all mediums. We're all media. We can disseminate information. I don't know how much information we do have as individuals. Maybe we need to learn some facts before we disseminate them. But I think we should do the job. I mean, if it's not us, if it's not on social media, if it's not with your friends or with neighbors or with parents or friends at school, then there's no one to be doing the work that we should be doing. And also there are plentiful of unknown facts. Just recently it came to me that no one knows that in 2007, 138 Muslim scholars issued a letter to the Pope, to the Catholic Pope, saying there's a common word between us, and it's a quotation from the Quran. كلمة سواء بيننا وبينكم, the same word, a common word for us and for you. We have the same basis. We're coming from the same root. More than 50% of the people of the world are either Christian or Muslim. The peace on earth depends on the relationship between us. We need to work together. What's more to add? These were Muslim scholars from around the Muslim world writing it to the Pope. then Benedict the 16th. If we know facts like that, we can counter those arguments that, I don't know, Islam is terrorism. The lady from Sudan, she mentioned that Muslims are dying because of Islamic terrorism. Because indeed, we're seeing that there's a process of Islamization of radicalism. A French scholar, Olivier Roy, he has this idea of radicalism, which has always been with us, is part of human nature. And we had the Red Brigades in the 70s, the Baader-Meinhof Red Army faction. We had radicalism. Lefty radicalism is not so sexy these days. There are sexier ideas, and actually Islam, being a very universalist and at the same time revolutionary religion, is a sort of prone religion to be used by radicals. So if you know that in Pakistan, after 2001, when America started the war in Afghanistan after the World Trade Center attacks, more than 30,000 Muslims, Pakistanis, died because of other Muslims. It's a war within. Much more Muslims die because of terrorism and wars than Europeans. We just need to see the perspective. We need to see really what is happening and not think of ourselves as specific victims or victims of what's happening in the world. No, other people are suffering much more than we probably will be ever in the next 10 years.
Okay, thank you. Justyna, on take on that?
Referring to your questions, whether the migration should or shouldn't be an element of political game, it's simply right now too profitable not to make it an element of attracting voters and actually capitalize on the fears over Islam, security, losing the social benefits. But we need to be aware that especially in countries like Poland, right now we have a really deep polarization of the society. And as you said, there is no dialogue, and the society, the ordinary people actually, they miss the real picture of the migration processes, because on the one side we have people from, let's say, NGO sector having very idealistic approach, showing like preferring the policy of open arms, not taking into consideration that security is important element of state policy. And on other side, we have a really deep, strong opponents of migration in general, and those two groups actually are not talking to each other. So it's seen in the media that we cannot learn about that the migration has its costs and benefits to each member state. So yes, this information and facts-based discussion is urgently important.
Okay, and Elsi, and you remember to answer the question what Sinter is doing to educate.
Yes. First of all, I will answer the question about how to stop populists, how to discuss with them. There is, I always say to the people with whom I talk, the younger one or the older one, that populists do not respect their viewers, their listeners. How so? Because populists a lot. For example, there is this very known, unfortunately, woman here called in Poland called Miriam Shaddad, and she uses such stupid arguments. She lies on television, on live, in every discussion she has about Muslims, about Muslim terrorists, about murderers and this kind of stuff. When I talk with the young people and they always use the arguments of Miriam Shaddad or Korwin Mikke or different people, I urge them to listen, you heard this, but have you actually fact-checked this? Go to the internet, you have reports, you have different papers from different universities, institutions, you can check it out. I need you to know that these people are using in all the discussion emotions. They often do not use any kind of facts, and I want you to know that they're using your emotions and do not respecting either your intelligence or your time. And this like opens some gate in their minds and like, well, maybe I will check it out. And a lot of people after those meetings, discussions, wrote to me saying, you know what, actually I have checked it out and you are right, that was a lie and it never happened anywhere, or this kind of stuff. This is one thing. The other thing, which is even more important, discuss with facts, discuss with like data, discuss with like things that happened. It's a lot. Again, example of Miriam Shaded, for example, during their television interview, she was saying different stuff, and when the moderator asked her something like about facts, like, are you sure about this? And suddenly microphone was not working, I don't know, sun was interrupting, wind was interrupting everything, and like she said, no, I'm not doing it, and she went away. That was one of the most beautiful moments I have seen in 2016. It was one of the most beautiful moments for me. So this is how you do it. About Sinter, we have Sinter, when the Sinter was created by my late father, it was at the beginning project, and we needed a space where Chechens could gather and spend time together, contemplate about whatever happened, continue using language, not to forget about traditions. And then the Sinter quickly became a center of two main important things: education and integration. And we go from school to school to talk with young people from different age, and we have discussions with them. We invited them when we had the place of our one place. We invited them over to have this discussion, to talk, to listen to them, to listen to what worries them, even if it's stupid what they said from lies from internet. It was real to them, and it was important to listen to it, not laugh at it, not ignore it, but listen to it and respond to it, saying, but this and that. And there's one thing, and the second thing is that with education we helped Chechen kids, Chechen refugees, and from different countries sometimes, to learn Polish language. We really helped those kids with different matters. When there was, for example, a kid who wasn't able to get pass one class for 3 years, he was all the time in 3rd grade, and he wasn't able to pass this class. And when we went to this school and helped this guy, in half year he ended one of the best student in school, and he was able to go. It was enough to spend time with him, teaching Polish language and help him with those matters. So this is one thing. The other thing is integration, and we do a lot of different meetings with people from I don't know, in different parts of the city, Warsaw City, different other cities with different institutions. When we do a open Chechen day where we show our culture, language, when we discuss. So these two, education and integration, we try to show people that we're also a human being, that we can live here, we can integrate, we can learn, we can work. So this is what we do. And I just wanted to get just really quick about the ISIS, what Muslim extremists do. I often like to compare ISIS to Ku Klux Klan. ISIS is as much as Muslim as Ku Klux Klan was Christian. For example, ISIS fighters are as much Muslims as, Breivik is Christian. And the thing is that there, for example, was Chechen field fighter Arbi Barayev in 1999. He was one of the most cruel men that was walking on the face of earth, in my opinion, after knowing what he did. He used Islam, religion. He didn't even know how to read. He didn't know nothing about Islam. He always was walking with Quran and saying, in the name of Allah, we will do this. And he terrorized people. And he worked with Russian army to get money, to get drugs, and this kind of stuff. This kind of stuff happens a lot around the world. And I always urge people to think about it. Are ISIS true on Islam? Most of the people that is killed by ISIS or Al-Qaeda was killed by Al-Qaeda were Muslims. They destroy mosques, they kill people who does not want to obey them, and most suffering from them are Muslim people. So that's very important to remember, and I urge you, whenever you talk or discuss with anyone, please remember about that fact and ask them about that and make them think about it. Okay.
Thank you for an extensive explanation. Okay, now I think we have time for at least one round of question, and I already see some hands raised. So, okay, so you've been waiting for quite a while, and then we have a colleague over there in the blue pullover. Yep. Microphone, please. Yep.
Hi, I'm Rosanna from the Netherlands. I had a question to Justyna Segeš Frelak. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. You mentioned religion in Islamophobia, and I was wondering, with Europe becoming less and less religious, do you think there will also be less Islamophobic, or do you think that it's more of an excuse where they just say, oh, well, I'm a Christian and they're not Christian, so that's why I don't like them? Thank you.
Okay, and colleague there?
Hello, my name is Yana. I'm from Warsaw, but originally Ukrainian. Yes, so I want to ask you a question about this argument that all this thing that we are talking about today, like the refugee, like the crisis of perception of refugees and migrants in Europe, this comes from actually globalization. So after we started this globalization, first people were happy with the fact that countries are cooperating between each other, but in fact, within like 20 years, people started seeing other people from other countries, cultures, representatives of other religions, and they started feeling themselves not really comfortable with that. So is it about globalization, and does it mean that if we want to stick to globalization, if we don't want to go back from it, does it mean that we have to somehow learn to manage globalization and learn to manage the thing that we are doing, our development, right? And another question, just a quick one. I would like personally to be engaged into some kind of activities that are against Islamophobia, all these, ideas that, this cultural miscommunication maybe. Right, so I wanted to ask you, maybe you would say that maybe there are kind of organizations in Warsaw in particular that could help me, to create this kind of group, like to create, maybe I could create an organization, a group of people who could promote ideas of cooperation between the cultures, multiculturalism, and, general friendly atmosphere between us as young people.
Okay, thank you. One more question there, and I think there was a gentleman here in the second row. Okay, so first maybe on the right side.
My name is Daria, University of Wrocław. I have one question to Dr. Patrycja Sasnal. It's about Islamophobia. As was said that Islamophobia, we had like a domination of Islamophobia as an irrational fear in Central Europe, as a way of perceiving of Muslim people. But what do you think, as a result of secularization, maybe in next years this situation will change in Central Europe?
You said secularization? Yes, correct? Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
And we have a colleague here.
Thank you very much. Distinguished panel, this is Abu Jafar Fazli Rabi. I'm from Warsaw. This as well as I'm a student at the Academy of Young Diplomats. My question to Dr. Ahmed and Dr. Patrycja, when we will actually stop politicizing the religious group, basically when, and why we are doing that? I remember our the values actually we grown up with, regardless of I'm from a society and from a country where we've got 6 different nationalities and belief system. So you go to church, you go to mandir, you go to a mosque, you go somewhere else if you believe in some other religions. What if, like, from now on, 10, 20 years, where it will be climate changes, and there will be also refugee crisis. What you will call those refugees is what we are now calling refugees and Islamophobia, because these guys are from Middle East, are from the war zone. These things, this buffer happened. I mean, of course, this is not the point of discussion now here, but some of the failure states in the Middle East zone and neighbor countries. And some of the political parties take this as a weapon for them to win the election, because we, in many parts of the Western societies, hadn't had these opportunities to make the social awareness. And of course, a lot of them who travel around the world and who did. So my question to both of you, that when they will stop and why actually we're doing that? I mean, sort of Islamophobia, ridicule, and all this stuff.
Okay, thank you for now. And I think we'll start with the first question, which was directed to Ms. Segeš Frelak, which was about being
the role of religion. I mean, it's not only about the religion, but also the expectation that migrant refugees should learn the language, follow the customs, tradition, etc. So this is the kind of the expectation that migrants others should assimilate in order to become us, actually the members of our society. So this is important in my opinion, and it's also connected with the perceiving the migrants as a threat to our culture, and religion is connected with it. And I would like to refer to the other question you posed, who is responsible for integration policy, because I suppose that we didn't answer that. So in case of the humanitarian migrants, each EU member state has the obligation to fund the integration program. This is the EU rule that we should fund this process, of course, with the help of EU funding. But as experience show, in some cases, integration is fully funded from EU sources.
So then we had two questions about the secularization and using religion for political gains, exploiting religion politically. So and that was Patrycja and Ahmed. So if you could refer to that, how could that work?
I think actually two questions asked about the same thing. That is the connection between secularization and Islamophobia. So, you know, in both of these, you can be a radical. I mean, you can be a radical, militant, secular person, viciously anti-religious, and then you would hate Catholics and you would hate Muslims. But you can be secular because you know that we're so diverse that sometimes maybe the religious identity just closes up on you and doesn't let you see other points of view, doesn't let you see the diversity and the value in a different person. So I think that secularization can be a two-edged sword, because with Poland becoming more and more secular, at the same time I think people from the left would very much object to, and this again is a stereotypical view of Islam oppressing women, you know. This is the cliche that the left has of Islam. So the secular left is also not without sin, I would say here. I think actually Europe has given up on its very basic values that do come from religion and have come from a religion initially. I mean, one leg is this philosophical Greek, Roman heritage that we have, and they were polytheists. They believed in many gods, right? And the other leg is Christianity. But if you're a moderate, sane, and rational, because you can be a believer and be rational. We know that from Immanuel Kant, and we know that from a plethora of other philosophers. then you know that you can be Muslim and you can be Christian, and your aim in the world is being good to one another. This is what we have in common. Believe in God and be good to others. This you will find in the sacred book of all three great monotheistic religions. I also wanted to comment a little bit on the globalization issue and how globalization added to this uncertainty, I guess. That was one of the questions here. I think that really globalization stole our cozy, safe identities. It all of a sudden turns out that an identity is a difficult matter, that it's not a single identity that we share. Our German colleague, who's a Saxon, a German, and a European, explained it perfectly, I thought. And I think of myself, again, as someone from Galicia in Poland, even though we're not a federal state. But I'm really a local patriot, and I'm attached to my hometown, Tarnów. And then I'm a Pole, and I'm a European. And I also think of myself as a citizen of the world, even on a larger scale. And I cannot be sure if in my blood there is no Russian bit of blood, if there is no Jewish bit of blood, maybe a Czech bit of blood, or maybe an American bit of blood. I don't know. I haven't checked my ancestry, but it may be so. And so I think that this complexity that we live in, people really do not handle complexity. We don't like complexity. We like simple messages and simple ideas because we like to feel cozy. We like to feel safe. And politicians, and this I'm getting to the gentleman here who was asking about politicizing the issue giving the prominence to this aspect of religion, I guess, in politics and vice versa. Well, I think it's just natural. I mean, if you look at the numbers and the places from where people were coming to Europe, they do come mostly from Muslim countries. And it's a fact. But at the same time, people are using it as a tool to stir this fear of Muslims, of the other. And Islam is such a great, symbol to be used because we've had the Middle Ages. We border on the Muslim world. We have had wars. We have had colonialism. There's a history of hostile relations. Nobody talks about the history of good relations, which is also there, like in medieval Spain or you name it. Such a plethora of experiences in France, in Germany, of people of Muslim and Arab origin who got it to the top strata of the societies. The football players, the ministers, these are somehow unknown. We only know the guy who got on that truck and went through that Christmas market.
Ahmed?
Yeah, I come from a country, from a region. They consider that religion is very important in their life. So the distinction between politics and religion is very difficult in our country. And that's why the people understand also that other people can use religion as an argument in politics. So this is normal. Which is not normal that in Europe, in which secularism is the main principle in politics, people start to reintroduce some religious argument to defend their position. And this ambiguity to use religion in both ways, because you can use religion to defend the religiosity of the society and to be against secularism, etc. But to defend secularism using religion, this is very problematic in European countries, not in our countries. And I don't think that this can go to an end. Because your question is when. There is no an end, because politicians, even secular politicians, will use religion because they are facing also some religious community in their countries, and the number is becoming bigger and bigger. Even in countries in which there is no at all different religious groups are using the same argument to protect themselves from the invasion from other groups who can be or can be accepted in their countries. So it's an argument that will be used for a while, And the problem also is linked to our. It's not about Islam or not about Muslims, because there's several Islams, as you can see. If in the Far East you have the Pakistani Islam or the Hindi Islam, and you are also several Muslims. Maybe the problem is about the Arab Muslims. Arab Muslims, because they consider that they are the owner of the right Islam, and then and the Sunnis, and then they have to defend it and to be more in connection with imposing a vision of Sunni, let's say, Wahhabi version of Islam, and they consider themselves as the protector of that version of Islam, because they are Arabs, the owner of, and then they become more visible and more dangerous, and they give the argument, they give the opportunity to those who are using the argument of religion to defend their position through that. So this is also a real problem that we have to face, all of us, not only European, but even in our region, facing the problem of the Wahhabi Sunni Islam, which is very, very different. It's a kind of. Then people can become more radical to defend their position, and it's also problematic.
Thank you very much. And since we only have around 5 minutes left, I would like to ask you one more final question and for your remarks on this. We've been working around this far-right parties raising in Europe. So we know there's election coming in Germany, elections in France, and so on. We see the Jobbik in Hungary, we see the Hrysiewki in Greece, and the People's Party in Slovakia, and so on. So I would like to ask you, what is your biggest fear for this 2017, and at the same time, what is your biggest hope? So what do you hope will happen that will help us kind of contribute to limit the possible consequences of what is happening and rising of those far-right elements in our societies? So maybe Elsi, I don't know, hello? Would you like to? We're going to start from that end for...
Okay, I have two fears about rise of the populist and right-wing parties. One is just like clearly political, the rise of influence of Russian Federation in European politics, which is more and more clear by every month and every week. And I'm not saying it because I'm Chechen who hates Russians. Absolutely no. I'm saying it as a Polish citizen, as a Chechen citizen who had dealt with a politics of Kremlin and know how Kremlin thinks about other countries, about their sovereignty, sorry for my English, and how they think about free media and everything. So I'm afraid of this influence, of biggest and bigger influence of Russian Federation, of Kremlin here in Europe and European politics. This is one thing. The other thing I fear about is that the rise of the anti-Muslim feelings, the rise of this may lead to the mass aggressive actions led towards Muslim citizens of countries, Muslim people living in Europe, and I fear of it as a brother, as a son, as a friend of people. I'm not afraid of it because, don't understand me wrongly, but I'm whiter than my Polish friends, and I never had problem on the street or after they heard I was talking another language. But I'm afraid of wealth and health and security of my friends. This is one thing. My biggest hope for this year is that there was this one mistake made in the last 8 years, in my opinion. I'm young, so I don't understand much, but as far as I observed it, that all those far right wing groups, people who have these far right view of on many matters, they were not taken seriously in any discussion or whatever they said. It was like, doesn't matter, just don't listen to them. And now they're saying like, it's our time, so we'll show you how it feels. And we need to rethink all this way of discussion here in Poland, in other countries. We have to rethink about how to treat people who have totally different view on life than you, but still we live inside the same borders, on the same earth, in the same European Union, and after all, I just come from home where my parents and elders always teach me that we're after all brothers and sisters, and we have to take care of each other because it may lead to the ignorance, may lead to aggression. So I hope that all the political parties, all the people who are with different point of views, will learn how to discuss with each other, to listen, not to respond immediately without thinking. That's my view on this year.
My biggest concern for this year. So I'm really worried about the way how the far right is actually reshaping the political agenda and actually forcing the mainstream parties to change the migration and integration policies in the way that we forget that people are leaving their homes because of the threat of their life. And it has been so clearly seen not only in various European countries that actually shifted their policies, like in Austria, but it's seen also on the EU agenda, because when you read the proposed changes in the integration regulations, you can see that this far right is actually influencing the EU integration standards, and at the end may endanger the chances for independent life of migrants and refugees in the EU. But I still believe and have deeply believe in the civil society that we all will be able to influence the discussions and make people see the real picture. Thank you.
I will talk about the European Union. Europe is my religion. I can safely say that. Thanks to the European Union, there has been no war in Europe, in the integrated Europe, for many years. And when you look at that decision of France and Germany from 1950 and then in 1951, combining the two strategic energy businesses of coal and steel, and they were doing this just 5 years after the Second World War, when you could smell the stench of still smell the stench of burning bodies in the air. It was unprecedented. It was wonderful. European Union gave us peace, gave us prosperity, gave us no borders, gave us exchanges of students, gave us a common identity. And so, when I hear this talk about the EU, that it has some kind of deficit of democracy, as if this EU is a country that they're deciding. No, they're not. There are national states who are deciding. The EU is not the one to blame. It's a scapegoat for the politicians in national countries. They blame the EU for their own failures. And this is what I fear the most. Also this year probably more than any other year. And I'm hoping for a good result of those major elections in France and Germany. And I just hope that our common project, the greatest project probably that there was, is not undermined, because this is the greatest thing that we have.
Yeah. So like 90% of other Tunisians, like me, we have some concerns and fears of 2017, because after the end of the crisis in Syria, we have some thousands of radical terrorist, extremist Tunisian people there. And so the main challenge now for the government and for the Tunisians to have this radical coming back to Tunisia, or at least part of them. And the challenge is how to deal with them and how to face the problem of those returnees. So hopefully we solve the problem before that it explodes in Tunisia. But I have no religion, but I have convictions that I have anti-racist and anti-xenophobia, anti-homophobia convictions that I am really, and I hope that in our region we can also share those convictions with the because I can disappoint you because I'm not the best person who can defend Islam and Arabity, but I consider that we have to maybe change our attitude towards foreigners and towards people living in our countries without being part of us, before to ask to the other to change their attitude, unfortunately. And we Arabs are also much more racist than other people. And we have sub-Saharan African living in our countries, and we are racist toward them. And so we have to start to change our own attitude, let's say. Not myself, but I'm using the we as if I am part of it. But let's say we have to start cleaning in front of our doors before to ask other people. But my hope is to share this understanding of things between ourselves, between the two parts of our region, the Mediterranean.
Thank you very much to all of you, to Elsi, Justyna, Patrycja, and Ahmed. Thank you all for your questions, and I would like to ask Katarzyna Pisarska to come and conclude this evening. And after that, there will be two very short announcements yet, okay?
Thank you very much. I will definitely not try to sum up or conclude. There has been so many ideas and I think so many interesting points during this discussion. I would rather want to just give you an overall reflection. You know, the majority of us here are with the European Academy of Diplomacy because we do believe in diplomacy itself, as an art, as a skill, but also as a philosophy of living. And throughout ages, diplomacy was also a lot about empathy, about understanding the other, about putting yourself in the shoes of the other in order to prevent war. And as long as the ministries of foreign affairs have anything to say, war can be prevented. The moment that decisions are shifted to the Ministry of Defense, well, that already is a different world. And I think the migration crisis in this broader aspect of diplomacy is this one challenge that we have where we actually can test our ability to emphasize and to show empathy towards the other. and to be able to find ourselves in the shoes of other people who are different from us, who come from different cultures, who come from different settings and understanding, and trying at least to reach out in order to understand before we make a final judgment. I think we have been relatively, in an agreement here, majority, but as I said at the beginning, we are in the minority in the majority of our countries, and especially in Central Europe. I think the participants of the Visegrád School of Political Studies migration program know that best, that on an average in a room like this, 10 people would be supportive of our migration and 190 would be opposite to it. So it shows you that just as diplomats throughout ages have had an incredibly difficult task to try to open up the minds of their own people, because ultimately it's a lot about the ability of ourselves to understand our neighbors, our partners, our enemies. We also have a certain obligation first to educate ourselves, but then also to speak to others and respect our views. And I know that many of you might not have agreed to what was said here. And I think that challenging all these views is also as valuable as agreeing to them. And I hope that we will be able to continue this discussion within the program of the Academy of the Young Diplomats, but also beyond this. So thank you very much. I hope you found this inspiring, unnerving, and I hope you come out, at least moved in some way. Positive, negative, whatever it is, but I hope it made you think, and if that is the only thing we can come out together with some kind of a reflection for each and every one of you, I think that's already a success of this conference. I would like to thank all our wonderful speakers who came from very far sometimes, changed flights 3 times before they got. Ahmed had to fly for 3 different airports before he actually got to Cracow. And we really appreciate, both our international speakers and our Polish speakers for finding the time to come here to Cracow, to joining us, and of course all our wonderful students who also flew from a number of countries and from a number of cities to be here with us, and our Visegrád School of Political Studies migration program, which actually, if you are looking to support somebody, well, support them. They are going to high school starting from March, and they will have a lot of work to do to actually speak to the younger generation, and I'm sure they will need any help they can get in order to also try to have this discussion beyond the safe setting that we have here. So again, everybody, thank you very much. I hope you'll have a great integration party tonight after dinner in the disco. And for those of you who decide to go sightseeing in Cracow tomorrow, there's a full program as well. And with the Academy Young Diplomats, we see each other, of course, at the beginning of February for our 3rd session. And with the Visegrád School, we see each other in Berlin, probably for the final conclusion of the report that will be in June. So we still have some time to that. Thank you very much. A great round of applause to all the speakers, all the participants of this program.
Okay, so just 2 very short technical remarks. All those who are staying in a hotel, the dinner will be available beginning from 6, and then we meet at 10:30 around. And the integration for today is in a Toto club at Floriańska 18. The second thing is, there's a small request from one of your colleagues here. Szymon, where are you? He wants to ask for your help, so try to.
Hello guys, hey. My name is Szymon Vanax. I'm from Białystok, east coast of Poland, as you may know. And I'm taking part in a voting contest for the scholarship from PZU, so I'm asking you for those votes. You can watch my presentation and decide whether it is worth to vote for me or not. And the only one thing is that only Polish citizens can vote, but for my non-Polish citizens, friends, I will ask if you can share it with your Polish friends. Yeah, I would appreciate that a lot. And yeah, I will post that on our group and ask you once again. Thank you very much for that. I wish you and to all of us a great dinner and much more extreme debates during the whole night. Let's dance a bit. Thank you very much.